world. Lucas Lawman's here, Kiwi voice. Thanks for taking the time to tune in on this Friday. Hope your week's been an awesome one. We're here to go into a bit of detail about the Dutch farmer protests that are occurring over in the Netherlands at the moment. It's massive protests, huge numbers in all different parts of the country, multiple actions, including blocking main routes, airports, ports, all of that sort of stuff. So we're going to get into why that's happening, go into a bit of detail there, and have a look at the actual protests themselves, just a few shots there. But it's more an explainer as to why this is going on and the effects that it could happen. Freezing, blustery, rainy, awful day here in Christchurch. Wait for a few more peeps to get on. Thanks, team, for joining us. We have got a bit to get through. I've got a couple of pages of notes to go through here. So, by all means, get comfortable if you want to know all about what's going on over in Holland. Let's bring this up, team, and get amongst it. So, here's what's going on over in Holland. Massive farmer protests are erupting all over the Netherlands against new climate regulations that will close farms and force them to kill off livestock to reduce nitrogen emissions. There is no joke. There's going to be potential for what do we got there? For livestock culls needing to happen. Thousands of tractors and trucks are blocking roads, distribution centres, and parts of the German and Dutch border as well. Would you believe fishermen have joined in as well, blocking ports, along with freight and dock workers. They're also joining in. Just look at the scale of some of what is going on here, team. It is huge. Just think groundswell, mother of all protests, multiply it by 10 or 20, 30, and that's what we are getting. So, obviously pretty strong presence there from the farmers. Media buildings have been blocked also in response to what has become the standard mainstream media tactic of labelling the protesters as extremists, militants, right-wingers, you name it. That's exactly what they are doing. It seems to be almost typical these days, which is a real shame. But what is uplifting is the scale of these protests. And there's talk of airports soon being shut down due to the blockades also. So what exactly has got these Dutch farmers so incredibly pissed off? Well, roughly a month ago, the Dutch Minister for Nitrogen and Nature Policy, yes, that is actually a thing, Christian van der Wal, presented a national and areas-specific plan to reduce nitrogen greenhouse gas by anywhere from 12 to 70%, depending on the area of the Netherlands that you are in. Farmers in the areas where they propose to regulate the hardest would basically be put out of business. With Dutch government even recognising that themselves, clearly stating, as you'll see here, there is not a future for all farmers within this approach. Government's flat out just saying that we are looking to shut down farms, essentially. Now, nitrogen is indeed a pollutant. There's no doubt about that, with runoff from farms affecting waterways, including marine life. There are, of course, other sources, including less environmentally friendly power plants, transport emissions, and the like, of course, that are contributing to climate emissions or climate changing emissions. But in farming-centred Holland, it mainly comes from livestock, manure, and urine. Now, me personally, climate change is absolutely a thing in terms of the human population on the earth is having an effect on the climate. I believe that. However, whether we need to go to this kind of extent to approach the problem, whether it's at the crisis that Al Gore has said many times in the past, this year we're going to have this issue, this year we're going to have this issue, it keeps going, never happens. It's just the extent of it, I think, that is over-reported for sure. So purely from a nitrogen reduction perspective, to reduce the nitrogen produced by Holland, you would have to reduce the livestock numbers. It's as simple as that with the amount that they have. It would affect other areas of farming and agriculture also, as manure is often used for fertilizer, and there will therefore be less of that to go around. Now, artificial fertilizer prices have been skyrocketing as of late, with reducing ability to use manure. Of course, those prices are going to continue to increase. I mean, this in turn, we've got this graph here right into 2022 showing the sharp increase. It's quite significant across other parts of the world. I mean, this in turn means that even farmers that aren't directly affected by these regulations could well go under just based on the fact that they can't secure a fertilizer supply for the farm. Really simple. It's going to be tough for them. Simple supply and demand, basic economics also would tell us then that the remaining farms would push prices up for the basic staples of meat, etc. So a lot of Dutch people, as we'll see on this next slide, a lot of the Dutch population, I should say, are waking up to this, with the latest Ipsos poll showing that Farmers' Political Party, formed in 2019, and this is reported as of The Hill. I've stolen it off there, but it is a publicly available Ipsos poll, has shot up in popularity over this nitrogen emissions issue. Currently, these guys, the Farmers' Party, they hold one seat in the Dutch Parliament over there. But based on these polls, if they held an election today, they would gain 11 more seats, just like that. Keeping in mind that this has effects that range much wider than just the Netherlands itself, or Holland. I mean, so Holland is the second largest exporter of agricultural products in the world, as this graph shows here. This is a 2020 graph, I believe. It's showing Netherlands as third. We have since updated that in 22. I just couldn't get the graph. I apologize, but it shows that they're second. But even at third, obviously, you can see the scale of their export in terms of agriculture. If you look down the bottom there, you'll see Australia and NZ, the numbers. You can compare and get an idea of where that will, how that would affect things. If I'm incorrect on saying that they are now second, and you know better than me, comment and let me know. But based on this, it's super obvious and easy to see the link to world food markets and supply, and how it affects us all, team, how it affects us all. Now, the Dutch government response is sadly one that seems to be echoing around the world in response to major protests these days. So quelling dissent via the use of weaponizing the police force. We saw it in Melbourne. We saw it in Wellington here in New Zealand. We've seen it in the States. It's become the norm. Sadly, police have been using tear gas. Military tanks have been called in to deal with these blockades in the Netherlands. Tow companies have been requested by the government to move vehicles involved in process. And much like here, Australia and Canada, at this stage, the majority of those tow companies are refusing to act against the farmers. This shot here just shows, it's a freeze frame I captured from a public Twitter post of a policeman approaching a Dutch farmer and ordering him out of his truck at gunpoint. That is, to me, quite alarming. Speaking of quite alarming, or not, if you're used to dealing with tyrants, the Dutch Minister of Agriculture, Henk, now I'm going to get this wrong, I'm sure, but I'm going to give it a go. Henk Staghouwer has offered to begin negotiations with the protesters, but only if, this is the kicker, this blows me away, but only if the participants of the negotiations publicly condemn the wide-ranging protests. So you can imagine what the response has been, and hence why negotiations haven't occurred. Now, other than fighting climate change, what are the reasons for these rapid government regulatory actions? Let's take a look at this here. A lot of you might be familiar with this. They are trying to meet the metrics outlined in the UN's 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Now, Voices for Freedom have done a deep dive on these. I think it's every Monday or Sunday. But these guidelines were released in 2015. So on and off since then, since 2015, some of these protests in Holland have been occurring because the government's been going pretty hard. Now, COVID lockdowns scuttled that somewhat, although there were massive protests against those from a different part of society then. I'm talking about the protests against lockdowns. But as the restrictions have lifted, these farmers' protests have come back in full force. The metrics outlined in this UN 2030 agenda are aggressive, and Dutch farmers, since its release, have been clearly communicating to the government they need more time to adapt. Go slow or get out of business has essentially been the message. And initially, the government agreed. However, climate activists sued the government against slowing down, and they won. How that works, I don't know, but that's what's been reported in multiple outlets overseas, meaning the government has been forced to go harder against the farmers, regardless of the consequences, and obviously widespread protesting. I mean, this all seems so bizarre to me. Now, proponents would say that these strict regulations and cracking down is actually working. Since 2017, Dutch nitrogen emissions have been decreasing for sure, but it's not actually as a result of the regulations. It's actually due to the pig population shrinking because the government has been paying these guys to close their farms or close their businesses. The further tightening of regulations has the government announcing further massive multi-billion-dollar buyout arrangements of farms, thinking centralisation of food supply here, but has also announced that they will expropriate, I might get that wrong, the land of farmers who do not comply. Essentially, they're going to steal their land. With this occurring in such a rich agriculture export country, to coincide with the looming wheat shortage due to blocked or severely limited exports out of Ukraine, the pressure on the global food supply is going to continue to be increased. Pretty easy analysis that we have already seen multiple serious shortages in places like the USA, with baby formula and other individual products in multiple countries. Food inflation is occurring at a staggering rate. We're all feeling it here in New Zealand as well. And events such as what are occurring in the Netherlands are, of course, going to exacerbate that also. So that's the explainer of what's going on over in Holland. It's strong ideological push by the Dutch government to adhere to the UN 2030 Agenda Sustainable Development guidelines. There's no law or anything involved here, but the Dutch are taking it hook, line and sinker and going hard in terms of their government. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on this one. I've got a personal connection there, with that being my heritage and family over there. We stay in regular contact. So it'll be super interesting to see how this develops, and Kiwi Voice will continue to report on it now that we've had an explainer out there as to what's going on. Thanks everyone for tuning in, all 27 of you at this stage on this freezing cold Friday evening. Hope you've got an awesome weekend planned. Keep an eye on Kiwi Voice for further updates as we head into the weekend as well. Comment down below, share these links around, send stars our way if you think we're worth supporting. If not, enjoy the content. Have an awesome weekend if we don't see you before. Stay safe, stay free, team. And we'll see you again real soon.